Hey guys, Catalyst here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Today's video is going to be everything wrong with Battlefield 2042, as I'm sure you all can read from the title. This is a direct sequel from a video that I made for Battlefield 5 a few years ago titled Every Mistake That DICE Made with Battlefield 5, where I counted every single mistake with the game in the style of CinemaSins, and this video will be no different, detailing everything wrong with Battlefield 2042, from serious issues to funny nitpicks and everything in between. The video will mostly be chronological from the announcement of the game, but we will bounce around a little bit when I see fit. I thought that with no real content coming soon, that would be a perfect opportunity to make this video. With that also being said, this will likely be the last Battlefield 2042 video that I make for a long time, unless there is some kind of miraculous development over the next few months. I'll be trying some other content on other games, maybe some older Battlefield titles, we'll see, I'm not really sure yet. Anyways, like the video if you end up enjoying it, and here is everything wrong with Battlefield 2042. We should have known. We should have known right there and then that this was a trap. At least Battlefield 5 was courteous enough to level our expectations by using Trevor Noah to introduce the game. Also, this was the peak of Battlefield 2042, right here. This was it. I'm not even sure you could do rendezvous consistently in the game, but it certainly made Battlefield fans sploosh their pants enough to cough up $120. But with that being said, the marketing team stepped up and put together a great trailer that carried the hype of this game until the very end. I'm deducting a point, but don't get used to it. I am not going to go easy on this game. The Ranger. Seriously, what is the purpose of this thing other than being another annoying little shit that could kill you easily? If I wanted to go get aimbotted by an annoying little shit across the map, I'd go play Battlefield 5. Also, DICE deciding that on top of said aimbot, they wanted to give the Ranger more health than a Dark Souls boss. DICE accurately portraying fans' reaction when they realized the tornadoes would absolutely fry their graphics cards. Is DICE responsible for the graphics card scalping? I think DICE is responsible for the graphics card scalping. EA claiming that the game was ahead of schedule when in reality it was so far behind that the only thing that would be comparable to how behind the game was is my fat ass running a race against Usain Bolt. That's how far behind this game was. Battlefield 2042's gameplay trailer only having 12 seconds of actual unscripted gameplay. DICE insisting sandstorms are a fun gameplay mechanic. Seriously, I've been sick of these since the Gulf of Oman. If it's not Darude, keep sandstorms out of my Battlefield game, please. DICE accurately predicting how most sweaty players are going to be playing the game. The Battlefield community focusing more on memeing about penguins than inquiring about the lack of gameplay shown in the trailers. Also, while I'm thinking about it, I remember everybody from EA shills to casual fans telling people to not worry about the lack of gameplay being shown and that we were just being negative and to have faith in DICE. Looking back on it, this might be confirmation bias, but I don't care. This is the biggest I told you so that I have ever told so.
Live along with you from our homes. So, starting us off, I'm here with Oscar Gabrielson and Daniel Berlin, Design Director for 2042.
I'm sorry, you think that's a little bit of a low blow? Well, so is everything that DICE and EA have done to the Battlefield community over the last 3 years.
We found it. It was this kind of special moment of taking the best pieces of Battlefield 3 and 4, that notion of like modern warfare, and then spicing it up a bit with cutting-edge hardware.
What? Battlefield 2042 has practically zero of the elements that made Battlefield 3 and 4 great. The only thing that they share is a name.
And this time around the team went quite wide. I think we looked at 12 different concepts or so.
Also, there were 12 concepts in Battlefield 2042 won? How bad were the other concepts? This is the sperm that won? Despite what I just said for the joke, I actually find the lore of 2042 to be extremely interesting as a concept, and the fact that very little of it is present in the full game is extremely disappointing. The lore of the game and the actual game itself feels completely separate from each other at times.
In Battlefield 2042, you can actually kick off the game and play solo, with AI squad members on a whole big team with AI members facing AI. And that's just a great way to kind of learn the basics of the game.
I'm actually going to take a point off here. This is one of the many positive things that come out of having AI. One of the things that Battlefield has struggled with for a long time is teaching new players how to play. This is the best way I've seen it done so far and is worthy of taking off a point.
But there's also a massive tunnel that goes through. And I've been in some playtests where I just...
This game was absolutely not playtested.
Maybe it was Daniel, maybe it was someone else from the design team said like, wouldn't it be cool if we could throw like a real-time tornado onto the battlefield that could turn everything kind of upside down and cause massive destruction. We had that first prototype, and I remember us showing it to other team members like, okay, but that's pre-rendered, right? It just has to be fake, can't look that like that. And we were like, yep, it works.
DICE spending close to 3 years on tornado technology despite reports that the tornado was causing development problems. Congratulations, DICE! You might have a working tornado, but you don't have a working video game.
Looked over at the tech team and they're like, oh, are we supposed to make this work?
Yes, you are. That's literally your fucking job.
And I was running from the rocket towards the rocket assembly building across that big open space. And of course I was stupid. So it's just like, I can run that, no problem.
DICE senior design director explaining how bad he is at his own video game.
But the storm is actually somewhere else right now. But it happened to have picked up a transport vehicle and flung it up. And then it had flung it across the map. So I'm just running there and all of a sudden we just see like... And he just lands on the sniper. I'm just like, yes! That's because that's the fun, unexpected things when you introduce a lot of physics in.
This does not sound fun. This sounds stupid.
Of course, we have Boris as well.
Boris.
Who's fulfilling an engineer role for us.
Boris does not fulfill an engineer role. He fulfills the role of every dogshit player specialist of choice.
Boris is a really cool guy.
No, he is not. And neither are the people that play him.
Our targets and support you with supportive fire.
I believe I speak for everyone when I say fuck sentry turrets. They're one of the biggest design mistakes this game has.
But let's talk about the weapons. I mean, we've got a great selection of weapons already in the game.
Battlefield 2042 has the least amount of weapons at launch in franchise history. A great selection is not the words I would have chosen there, Adam.
We want vehicles to be platforms for team play. So we want them to be enablers of great team play. And they've been so in the past, I think, but we just kind of touched upon it.
This is true, until you slap 30mm weapons on transport vehicles with no restrictions and team play gets tossed out the window, so skillless players can farm you in a bolt for 30 minutes. The focus has gone from using vehicles to help the team, to using vehicles specifically to farm kills on infantry players, which is one of the biggest things that negatively affect 2042's gameplay.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, we given the big Frostbite upgrade, we got a new physics, sub-engine as part of that. So I think that the level of skill that's now in the vehicles.
Knowing what we know now, I love how Oscar spun this as an upgrade of Frostbite when the reality is that the engine was so old and broken that they spent 18 months to completely fix the engine to make this video game.
And it really does make all the difference in the world when you're rising out above the stadium on Hourglass and you're looking out across the distance to just see jets and tanks just all over the place. It's great for Battlefield players.
This is not great. This is completely terrifying and makes me want to Alt F4.
Later, Hazard Zone. And we're keeping pretty tight-lipped on both of these experiences so far.
Hazard Zone.
Yeah, Hazard Zone is really something that's taking kind of the superpowers of DICE, the Battlefield formula, to a new level. It's a high-stakes, squad-based experience. It's not your Battle Royale that you might be expecting. It's something new and a bit more contemporary, I'd say.
He couldn't even keep a straight face here, knowing that 2042 was originally supposed to be a battle royale. I know we've been spending a lot of time nitpicking this livestream, but this shit is a fucking goldmine, man.
But it is really built on those mechanics, those high-stakes mechanics that really builds tension.
DICE claiming that Hazard Zone stakes are high when they are actually so low that I can get all the drives I need for loadouts for multiple games to come in 1 or 2 games. That's like playing a high-stakes game of poker thinking you're going to get paid in US dollars, but instead finding out you're going to get paid with Mexican pesos. Woohoo! Yeah! Look at all this wickedly fresh content we're getting. I can't wait to start earning these in a few weeks after launch. Wait, what? Delays? Nah, there's no way they're gonna delay it. Also, how did DICE fail so horribly with Tides of War in Battlefield 5 and then have the audacity to think, yeah, let's try and do that again, but this time let's have the content be literally the most insignificant bland content we can offer players? Didn't we all agree that Tides of War as a live service was a failure? Am I remembering this correctly? I don't know, man. This entire timeline is starting to feel like the MCU, but significantly less consumer friendly. Also, DICE adopting the strategy that they used for adding tank customization for Battlefield 5 as their business model for adding content in 2042. It's coming soon, guys. I promise.
And like we were chatting about it a lot earlier on, talking about it in relation to our maps and in relation to the characters and the way that we're kind of approaching storytelling in this game. How's it been now developing a Battlefield game where we're telling so much of this story of no pats and this world that, we're inheriting in 2042.
We have absolutely zero idea why these no-pats are fighting. Apart from an opening cinematic that you only see once at the very beginning of the game, the lore is so hidden in 2042 you would be almost convinced that it doesn't exist. And it doesn't help when you have cringe voice lines that make me hate every single character. I don't even think specialists are that big of a deal in 2042, but if you're going to replace the class system with character-oriented hero specialists, maybe it would be a good idea to have at least one of them be likable. Also, Battlefield 2042 having some of the cringiest dialogue and voice lines in any video game ever made. Seriously, I have never wanted to reach through my monitor and punch a character in the face this badly. Other dev studios, take notes. If you want players to really hate the villain of your video game, hire the people that wrote 2042's dialogue. In fact, the dialogue is so bad, let's go through some of it, shall we? Plus 50 points for every single voice line.
Enjoy these moments when they come.
It's kinda hard to enjoy this after I just got farmed by vehicles for 30 minutes.
All work, no play.
This is actually extremely accurate considering Boris turrets do all the work and Boris players don't actually play the video game.
Fights like that keep you sharp.
You literally proned in a bush as far away from the fight as possible and piloted a drone for the entire match.
This was one to remember.
I didn't even remember that you were in the video game.
That's it? I'm ready for round 2.
DICE foolishly thinking people are going to play more than one round of Battlefield 2042.
Today I'm proud.
You're proud? Of fucking what? Remember kids, killing people is something that you should be proud of, according to DICE.
Did I go too far?
God, it is so obvious that Pig's personality is built to resemble and cater to weeb culture, which seems like a nitpick and a stretch until you realize that she is literally giggling about killing people. It's not a bad thing to play to stereotypes, but in this case, it's so poorly written and totally dissonant with the setting of the game that it's just plain fucking annoying.
Ooh, sorry. I mean, I am as shocked as you.
You know, come to think of it, I am pretty shocked that the 11 assists that you earned by sniping in the back of the map got highlighted over my 100 kill game.
I am not overconfident. I'm just better than everyone else.
Who the fuck wrote this?
Don't be sad. This is just how it works out sometimes.
This one is so bad, and I have heard it so much, that it has actively given me PTSD and caused my brain to rot. I was consoling a good friend of mine because his girlfriend broke up with him, and this phrase literally popped into my head. DICE has inexplicably been able to do something as complicated as changing how we view grief, but can't do something as simple as a server update without breaking their entire fucking video game.
Yeah, Angel does it again.
Please. Make it stop.
That was something, right?
Battlefield 2042 is out October 22nd. I'm not gonna play that.
DICE completely missing Gamescom and having the only mention of Battlefield 2042 at Gamescom being this. IGN's paycheck did not clear yet. Also, holy shit, this guy absolutely knew something that we didn't. I know we memed about this moment when it happened, but oh my god, is this based in hindsight.
Put that back, Raw. We don't get paid to interfere.
I know, but this is too big to ignore.
Rao has a British accent in this scene. The Exodus short story actually making me want a true single-player campaign instead of war stories, only to realize that I won't be getting one, because Battlefield 2042 is multiplayer only. Well, at least the multiplayer will be good, right? Oh no, a surprise Halo Infinite, look out! Pack died for Battlefield 2042. Let that sink in. Also, fuck this so hard. This forced implementation of Battlefield 4 into 2042's lore was completely unnecessary and does nothing for the overall story of the game apart from, once again, trying to use nostalgia to sell copies. I'm not sure if I'm mad that they did it, or I'm mad that it worked for some players. Rest in peace, Michael K. Williams. DICE, instead of inviting seasoned Battlefield players and creators, runs a lottery system that randomly chooses players to test the alpha, and also excludes regions such as OCE. If you are looking for the worst way to garner feedback about your game, not personally inviting fans and instead inviting complete strangers that have no idea how to play Battlefield, while also excluding some of the most passionate regions in the process, that's a very good way to start. DICE releasing one of the worst video game soundtracks of all time. Seriously, how the fuck did we go from something like this to this? This soundtrack literally sounds like the composer asked DICE what her inspiration should be, and they answered, How about nails on a chalkboard? No, fork in a blender. Let's go with that. The Battlefield 2042 beta being in such a poor state that there were actual rumors and drama on how old the beta build actually was. Also, and I cannot believe that I am saying this, the beta build of the game somehow being the best version of the game that we have played. DICE, in their infinite wisdom, took a look at the feedback and said, what should we fix first? Mouse input? Aim assist? Players being unable to be revived because they're stuck in terrain? Performance? Oh, I know! Let's increase the number of vehicles! Also, I know that makes me sound like a salty infantry player, but looking back on it, one of the reasons why the game was more enjoyable in the beta was because you had less vehicle spam. Keep in mind, this was also a build without hovercrafts or bolts. The decision to add more playable vehicles is one of the more damaging changes DICE made to the core gameplay loop. Wow, we're almost 15 minutes into this video and I still even haven't gotten to the part where the game launches. Should probably get on that. Battlefield 2042 having the worst launch of any video game in the last 5 years. It's almost like DICE saw the launch of Battlefield 5, said, hold my beer, and then released the dumpster fire that was 2042 like it was on a dare. Also, Battlefield 2042 needing to be delayed at least another year, but EA being too greedy to actually consent to it. You guys need an extra year of development time? How about a month? That's my final offer. Also, Battlefield 2042 having 3 development studios, 3 years of development, killing Need for Speed and Battlefront 2, and still coming out in the state it was at launch. Also, it wasn't even really 3 years of development considering they spent 15 months fixing the Frostbite engine because it was so broken, not to mention the fact that the game switched from being a BR type game halfway through development time, and the developers had to work from home due to COVID, and EA still didn't delay this video game. Are we really surprised things turned out this way? Wait a minute.
Are you really surprised?
Okay, I might have just hopped on the 2042 was sabotaged by DICE theory. DICE having 20 plus years of experience making FPS games but releases a game that has broken mouse input. How do you release a AAA first-person shooter game and not even get the basic mechanics correct? Plus 1 point for every day the mouse input has been broken, which as of the day of this video is exactly 108 days with broken mouse input, and that's not counting the beta. Alternatively, controller aim assist also being broken to the point that tracking is almost non-existent for controller players. And to think, we were worried that aim assist was going to be too strong to account for crossplay. I guarantee you that none of us saw this coming. DICE, after receiving feedback that the gunplay was actually one of the things that was liked by a majority of the players in the beta, completely fucks up the hit detection and bullet spread during the opening week of the game, making it to where the PP29 was the only weapon people used because it was the only weapon that was registered correctly and had enough bullets to kill people. Battlefield 2042's performance. I have a medium to high-end PC and I can't even stream 128 player modes because of how bad my performance is. And that's just my problems on PC. That doesn't account for crashes and frame drops on both next-gen and old-gen consoles. Players justifying the launch of 2042 by saying that Battlefield 4's launch was also bad and it took a year for that game to become a fan favorite. Therefore, we should all stop complaining and be patient while we let DICE fix the game. Imagine justifying the launch of a current product by comparing it to a different product that had a 1 in a million miraculous comeback. Lightning does not strike twice like this, and to use your hope of it as an excuse for the state of the game is a leap in logic that is so astounding I can't ignore it. Consumers like this are part of the problem. Get higher standards. People on Reddit actually got upset at one point that Peg's character model was kind of ugly in comparison to her voice actor. Are we upset that women are in the game, Reddit, or are we upset that they aren't attractive when they are in the game? I'm confused. Damn, I'm starting to think that Reddit users have no idea what they're talking about. DICE delaying Season 1 content from December to March. It's understandable that they do this while they fix the game, just as long as they don't do it again. Battlefield 2042 dropping from over 100,000 players to just 20,000 players 2 weeks after launch. Battlefield 2042 indirectly inspiring the retirement of Tom Brady, because not even Tom Brady wants to be associated with this video game. Battlefield 2042 having the least amount of weapons and maps at launch than any Battlefield game before it. DICE not implementing a server browser for matchmaking despite having a server browser for Portal. The matchmaking in Battlefield 2042 is one of the most infuriating things about it, and here are the reasons why. Since you don't get to choose what maps you play, you are often subjected to the same boring maps over and over again. Forced quick play matchmaking works as long as your game is alive, which Battlefield 2042 is not, so you spend more time matchmaking only to be put into a game on a map you don't want to play with a bunch of AI in the server. With that being said, if you leave a server, chances are the game is going to try and force you back into that exact same server when you are matchmaking. Also, when you leave a server, the game automatically re-queues you, so let's say you leave the server to take a bathroom break. You will come back to find yourself in a server even though you didn't queue. Battlefield 2042 is that bitchy, needy girlfriend with daddy issues that will not leave you alone for one goddamn second. DICE is so afraid of hurting players' feelings that they try their hardest to not allow players to lag out. Yeah, those frozen players that don't take damage and skip around, those are players that are lagging out of the game and are granted iframes until their Comcast internet stops shitting itself, but instead of kicking them from the server and risking them getting upset, 2042 actually continues to keep them in the game to the detriment of all of their players. DICE adds Rush to Battlefield 2042 to a very favorable reception, but of course we aren't allowed to have nice things and Rush was removed 1 month later. Hey Sven, remember how people loved their favorite game modes like Domination and Frontlines being limited time in Battlefield 5? No, Oscar, I don't. I think they hated that actually. Exactly, let's remove Rush instead of making it permanent. I know they put Rush back into the game, but I'm making a point here that DICE literally could not get out of their own way and not only went against community wishes to keep Rush in the game, but actively pulled the most enticing game mode that the game had to offer at the time. Battlefield 2042 not having an industry standard scoreboard, but instead having a scoreboard that tries to decrease toxicity by hiding the other team, overall score, and deaths, which ironically makes me more toxic when I check the scoreboard before a loss and see myself with 134 kills, while my squad mate has 1 kill despite him being in the server the same amount of time that I have. Battlefield 2042 also not having all chat in its crusade to fight against toxicity, when in reality all it does is prevent me from getting content of people calling me a cheater. Also, because the game doesn't show the opposing team and doesn't have all chat, we have no idea how rampant cheating is or is not in the game because we cannot communicate with the other team when we see a score that indicates a player might be a hacker. Also, the only reason we know that there is any kind of cheating happening at all is because a cheat developer came out and gave refunds to its subscribers because Battlefield 2042 was so broken that their cheats weren't working in the game. There is no joke here. That is just flat out fucking hysterical. DICE having to remove Dozer from the game during launch because his shield was literally deflecting tank shells. DICE also having to remove proxy sensor grenades from the game because they were being spammed so much that they were tanking the game's already impressively bad performance. 128 players. 128 players again. 128 players for the third time to communicate just how bad this design decision was and how it negatively affects virtually every part of the game. Seriously, DICE tested 128 players over a decade ago for Battlefield 3 and deemed it to be unfun and unpractical, but apparently someone in charge said, "Psh, what do those guys know? They only made 2 of the best Battlefield games to date. Let's go ahead and do it anyways." The NTW50. Hey guys, remember how skillful and fun the Boys AT and Panzerbusch were in Battlefield 5? No, but go on. Well, let's put a one-shot sniper rifle in the game again, but this time, players don't have to prone to use it, making it even easier. Oh, that's a brilliant idea, Laura! Now, what should we tell our investors about why the game is performing so poorly? Well, Halo Infinite just came out recently. The Battlefield 2042 social media accounts posting concept art of Battlefield 2042 that looks 10 times better than the game we actually got. Battlefield 2042 having without a doubt the worst collective group of maps in any Battlefield to date due to the bloating developers had to do to make 128 players work. The plus system being a great idea, but being completely ruined by the fact that the attachments have 0 depth to them and only affect weapon stats in a few ways, mostly recoil and rate of fire. God damn! I would love to hire the guy who does the lawn work for Kaleidoscope. There is a full-blown economic crisis and that shit looks bussin', my guy. This is the worst map in Battlefield history. No, wait, I changed my mind. This map is the worst map in Battlefield history. Okay, final answer, locking it in. This is the worst map in Battlefield history. I mean, what the fuck is this? Or this? Or even this? How did a map that is literally a gigantic open glacier end up being one of the best maps in this game? Do you know how bad the maps have to be in order for that to happen? DICE thinking that pre-round briefings from commanders makes me care about what's happening instead of implementing actual lore. And DICE is wrong. DICE, in one of the most baffling design decisions I have ever seen, decided to place breakthrough capture objectives on the top of tall buildings on not 1, but 3 different maps, meaning that the attacking team was guaranteed to lose on 3 out of the 7 breakthrough maps, because defending teams could quite literally camp elevators, stairs, and zip lines, while also being able to call in vehicles on top of those objectives. I know I've been using a lot of bombastic, hyperbolic language in this video, but I am not overselling it when I tell you that this is one of the most confusing, brain-dead, dog shit design decisions I have ever seen. How did this get past playtesting? Tanks being so weak that the armored vehicle meant for AA is actually more effective than tanks are. Jets in Battlefield 2042 actually turn faster inverted. I don't know how hard physics are to convey properly in video games, but what? DICE's insatiable, bizarre obsession with making sure that every vehicle in the game has some form of anti-infantry weaponry. Hovercrafts literally dominating the game for the first 2 weeks, but at least they fixed it, you know. Infantry might now be able to traverse the game in some kind of peaceful Bolts. Plus 100 points. The sheer amount of spam in Battlefield 2042, whether it's grenade spam, vehicle spam, spotting spam, sentry turret spam, there is just so much of everything going on all the time, and it's once again a product of the horrific decision to try and make the game 128 players. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I've talked about boards to sentry turrets specifically. Well, even if I have, I'm more than willing to add another point for these fucking things. They can practically spot me for their owners before I even load into the map. Fuck sentry turrets. I don't really think specialists are that bad of an idea, but the implementation of them was terrible, and as a replacement to the traditional class system, it doesn't work. Battlefield 2042 having horrific balance in terms of vehicle distribution, making it so there is no limit on specific vehicles, just the amount of vehicle types on the field at any given time. Therefore, you can have 4 bolts running around the map at the same time, which there usually are, by the way, considering how cheesy and powerful they are. And Battlefield 2042 was always going to be a vehicle-heavy game, but this right here is why vehicles are so oppressive, especially in a 128-player breakthrough. DICE not learning their lesson and allowing air vehicles to spawn in early, which allows players to jet ram and farm players while they are still loading in cutscenes. This is something that happened in Battlefield 5 too before they patched it, and DICE displayed their goldfish memory perfectly here. C5 droning. DICE going 3 months without patching C5 drone despite patching it in the beta during Battlefield 3. First of all, how do you make this mistake a second time? And secondly, how do you not quickly patch it? Sundance's anti-tank grenades being completely bugged and prioritizing air targets over much closer land targets. Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to kill that wildcat in front of you? Too bad, there is a super hind that just spawned 500 meters away! Tally-ho! The in-game store not having anything in it despite the game clearly being designed to be microtransaction heavy, even 3 months after the game's release. Portal being used as an XP farm instead of being used to create fun, unique experiences. This one is on the community more than DICE, but DICE definitely should have had a better game plan for it. Also, DICE having to shut down XP in Portal because of how it was being abused. Also, despite all the effort to reduce XP farming, DICE releases a Zombies Portal mode which in itself was an XP farm and was exactly the thing that Ripple Effect and DICE had been trying to stop for about 2 months. The Battlefield community's complete bastardization of the Portal mode. Instead of creating wild and wacky ideas and fun servers that could promote the game, the community instead created nothing but XP farms. Meanwhile, the hardcore community swarmed him like an anorexic ravenous seagull that was trying to steal my ice cream and created nothing but dog shit hardcore military simulation servers. I'm sorry if this offends you, but Battlefield is not a hardcore shooter, and it hasn't been for 15 years. Go play a fucking milsim! Running a grenade launcher under barrel attachment in a Portal server will completely desync you from the server. Battlefield 2042 having no spectator mode despite it being a feature since Battlefield 4, and making an appearance as the free cam option in all the Refractor engine titles. Battlefield 2042 not having VoIP despite being a game that encourages squad play and talks about it incessantly all the time. Battlefield 2042 not having platoons. Battlefield 2042 not having any stat tracking or player profile on launch. As you can now see, we have finally gotten to the missing features section of this video. I don't even want to begin to guess how far into the video we actually are. Battlefield 2042 missing a lot of optimization features and setting options that were included and praised in previous Battlefield titles, but are now missing. Things such as opacity settings. DICE released a patch that literally prevented players from being able to move their mouse horizontally. Also, if players wanted to fix the problem, they actually had to go into the game's pro-save files to fix it. If you held a gun to my head and told me to find the exact moment that the PC community gave up on this game, it was this, right here. This is the one officer, he's the murderer. Brutal expectations. The game being so bad that even former DICE employees and developers are peeking their heads through the proverbial doors and are checking on things and are agreeing with us. DICE seemingly refusing to acknowledge the game's failure and refusing to give a visual roadmap for how exactly they've planned to fix this monstrosity. Delaying Season 1 content to summer of 2022. At least they'll have some good content while we... Woo! Tactical Beanie, no way! This is exactly what I wanted, DICE, thank you! But wait a minute. Why does she get one? Battlefield Mobile rumors revealing that it has more content as a mobile game than 2042 had at launch. Blaming Halo for your game's unimpressive launch. Even if this is out of context and not the entire truth, this is absolutely believable given how EA rarely ever takes full responsibility for their actions. So I would argue that the fact that we believe it makes it a whole lot worse. Rumors that the next game are going to be a hero shooter and start off a Battlefield universe. Guys, we're fucked.